Bafana have been doing, I would say, quite well in Africa, in African tournaments. What do you think they need to take that next step?
South African League is the 59 league in the world. PSL League is the 59 league in the world from 83 major leagues. So that number needs to be actually put high up. The number 59. So they try to put a perception in everybody's mind. Top 10 league in the world. So you can only laugh about that. This is top 10 in the world. So the PSL is not top 10 in the world.
It's not every day that we get to sit down with, I will say, football royalty. Mr. Muhsin Ertuğral, firstly, I cannot express my excitement about sitting with you, talking to you, a gentleman that is so intertwined in South African football, who has been at Kaizer Chiefs. I actually have to look at the list.
Yeah.
Santos, Club Africa, Martinsburg, Ajax Cape Town, Golden Arrows, Mpumalanga Black Aces, Orlando Pirates, Ajax Cape Town, and my hometown, Pietermaritzburg United. Good evening, coach. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show, and we can talk football. It's long for me, how can I say that? Long period now to come back to South Africa after the last 5 months being involved in Europe, in the Euro. So it is also a pleasure now having a bit distance and having this kind of conversation is always a pleasure for me. Thank you for having me there.
Coach, I want to get straight into it. Ever since I started trying to get you on our show and following um your coaching career through many teams, you've been passionate about football development with youngsters. You used to call Ajax Cape Town at the time your chickens that were out there playing. Why? What is your design, your passion around youth football?
I think as sometimes we all misunderstood from the Mediterranean area. I think this has to do with the emotional part of us on the Mediterranean, especially in Turkey. We are very passionate about generally football is like in Argentina a life philosophy. It means everything for us. So football from my childhood was something that I could get out of the on those years. I grew up in Germany my father was German, went to Germany from Turkey very early in the 60s. So I was 5 years old when I came with him to Germany. So started my school in Germany, and then it is implemented in your system that you have to be better than the people in their own country to be successful. So we as foreigners on that time was very, very difficult for us to be, how can you say that you need to be 3 times better than the other ones, because one mistake what you do is like what the home people do is double. So you need to be better than them. So that has made me a driven personality from my childhood to be better than the rest and to get that out what you want. And this is practically coded in your DNA.
So you're coming to South Africa. I can still remember when you came, nobody know who you were. Nobody. I don't say this disrespectfully.
No,
I was living in South Africa at the time. And you come to South Africa, but you take over at Kaizer Chiefs, and then you don't just continue the success. You bring through so many young players. So what were you doing with the youth development that you were able to put them into your first team?
Yeah, one thing that needs to be understand is always also getting in my direction. Obviously, I'm the man who takes decisions on that, but there are behind the scenes, I think, unsung heroes. They are great, great personality, great coaches. One of them was definitely Farouk Khan. He did all the, let me say, all the work, the groundwork on players. The PSL on those years, I think, was much more demanding than today. You don't see these talents coming through anymore. So Farouk was immediately, I realized what kind of coach he is, and it doesn't matter where I go. Generally, I have always a great relationship with my coaches, and especially these young coaches and coaches in the youth development. Get them very close to me. And sometimes I'm used to go to the training session, and even Mondays we had this elite training session where we get the best players under 17, under 19, mixed with some of my reserve players. And the training session we conducted together with Farouk, the training session, and then he understood quickly the culture and philosophy where we wanted to head it to. And I remember my first talk to him was, let's see what we can do in 6 months. So let's see what you can bring on 6 months, and we're going to go. So don't put you under pressure. Let's see what can we build in 6 months. And obviously, he was participating in my training session. These are the people that really, really do, let me say, the groundwork. And it's not just the youngster come through and it's Balak. No, it's really a proper development, which is not anymore in South Africa. You don't see that a lot. I don't want to step some people on the feet, but today's players have 4 to 5 years of youth development. That means they're going from the primary school to the university, which the top sides have 10, 11, 12 years of youth development, proper youth development. So there's something cut lines, which we on those years, it was allowed from the chairman, Mr. Mutami, I called him the president. He allowed me to bring 2 women into football. That was also the first time in South Africa. We had Elsa Storm and Adrie de Jong, South African champion of 800 meter, coordination sessions, athleticism, and then Elsa was also a scientist. And doing the trainings program, we quickly had, let me say, the individual part of the sessions, and then when you have 12 to 14 hours per week, you need to have really good people, people that understand the anatomy, physiognomy, and then the prioritization of the training session, where we're going to heading to, and then the position-specific games, training sessions. So Elsa, Adri, then I brought in Rainer Winkelacker, a German goalkeeper coach, which did his mark in South African football as well as a goalkeeper. So this was all experts bringing in, and today's football is just understanding that coaches today is like CEOs. And need to put all the rest together. So those groundwork was for me very much vitally important to have this type of success.
Coach, I'm amazed by what you just said, that firstly, your backroom staff were made of all these talented people. Just only now, we are starting to see ladies break into football more than they have before. But I'm talking back in the 1990s, you had ladies directly involved with the first team.
Yes.
Which is a very unusual step.
Yeah, no, it was, we had a discussion with the chairman. I believe always that top professionals, women professionals, sometimes even better than men, can also ticklish a lot out of this man-dominated dressing room. So people sometimes misunderstand that a man, when it comes to a personality like Elsa or like Adri, who has done it, and she's one of the top runners in South African or international fraternity in athleticism, and Elsa as a sports scientist, and she is unbelievable good what she does. And so obviously when a man comes to where a lady sits, it's always, let me say, the behavior in the dressing room was completely different than man-dominated area. Firstly. Secondly, also she was like a mother to these youngsters. And sometimes she put the brake on me when I had a little bit more too far, let me say, because also we men control certain emotions, and women have more logistically better calculated emotions in that direction. That helped me a lot, I must say that.
Coach, so you brought the success to Kaizer Chiefs. I can remember you winning the cup final. I can't remember the name of the cup final, 5-0 against Jomo Cosmos. Absolutely outplaying them, something terrible. Jabo Pule starring, who is now Jabo Mahlangu, starting on the day. Looking at the current Kaizer Chiefs team, what do you think is needed in order to bring back the glory days to this powerhouse in South African football?
Yeah, it is always always taught culture. I mean, we had this now as a Turkish national team, and we had when I was in the sportive decision role with the national team. Everybody talks in Turkey as well about culture, football culture. Yeah, what is this culture? How is this culture implemented? So people need to define. They put sometimes words in there and have a certain think they have the knowledge and put. This is not a PlayStation game, and you're playing against teams that high quality in world football today. So you need to understand. We have today obviously the how can I say that? Let me bypass this at the moment, going in another direction. We're saying we have this internet and we have this social media at the moment where everybody can analyze anything, and we have these nice arrows drawing how Arsenal moves, how Galatasaray needs to play 3-5-2, how the Turkish national team needs to play a certain holding balls against low defense areas. There's all talks about, but how? So the point is always for those guys who think have the knowledge, will throw after the game when the result has been done, going back to that, and then they will cut all the corners. But in the end, is the situation for me always how, and the culture comes in, and the culture is it's a synergy of people being together, having common move, common ideology, common synergy that can then be interpreted maybe as culture. So that means long years. It doesn't come with a magic stick. Coach come in, magic stick, it's done. It's culture. Chiefs had a culture. Chiefs had a culture of bringing a lot of younger players through. And then obviously on those years, it was not done by me. It was done already when Mr. Mouton bought the club, and they had these superstars playing on those times. And they had this culture. Dr. Kumalos come through, and then we had all the Jabu Pules, Itumen Kunes, and all these players coming through. I think that has been lost a couple of years ago. So that's the identification of the jersey that you're actually wearing. So that builds you the culture. And I remember how Itu, the last ones, I think the last generation, how he was getting angry when things are not happening. Or on those years, Tabo Mukis and Dr. Kumalos, Brian Balois, they were really trademarks in South African football. And I didn't do a lot on that time. They actually controlled the dressing room, which I was very happy that these guys from this type of cultures, is by Manchester United, you can mention a lot of names on those years when Sir Alex was there, which came out. So Barcelona, when they played this great Messi's time, this great Champions League final, they had, I think, 6 or 7 players from the own youth coming into the professional ranks and have this major success. So I think that when you look, old Bayern Munich had sometimes, when they were so successful in the 70s, 80s, all 8, 9, 10 players sometimes from the own youth department. So I must say that I put that this synergy in the culture from the team. This has been lost. We had this weekend, this symposium, the first symposium in South Africa, because a trip been done with the coaches. They get together, and Port Elizabeth, SM Sports have done that with Sinisupo Mali. I think these are the elements that we can, let me say, these upcoming young coaches to understand from those ones who have walked that path, can transfer it actually to them what is today. So you go to the internet and see Pep Guardiola 4-6-0, no strikers, and being very successful now. The youth section is all 4-6-0s, no strikers, and trying to play that type of football. And this is, in all those years, I think, have been misguided. So the club culture comes in front. Every DNA is different. Every country is different. And so the social aspects, the cultural aspects, there's a lot of aspects that you need to think about. And obviously, these are the elements that Kaizer Chiefs maybe have last years, through the international, through so much coaching changes, through the international behaviors of coaches looking to this part, lost their own culture. I think that has done it. This has to do with this part.
Talking culture, coach, I know you're still involved with the Turkish national team. Watching the Turkish national team in the Euros, the blend of football that Turkey played, end to end, high energy, very exciting. got one of the best youngsters in the world in Arda Güler, who's now at Real Madrid. The philosophy that they play, is that also based on the culture?
I wouldn't say that actually. The last year when I was with Channel Ganesh directly involved, we had a lot of discussion with that because I think we have now at the moment 14 foreigners coming to Turkey and playing, possible to play in the Turkish Premier League. 11 on the field, it's possible. Last year was a different setup. So every year is something changing, and so we have lost a little bit the identity, and there's so many foreigners coming through, and these foreigners also sometimes are not good enough. So there are criteria that should be put in. I'm not against foreigners. This makes the league actually very good. But in the end, you're bringing players from Africa, South America, Europe, North Europe, South Europe. So it's like a multicultural environment. And so what is the language that's common language has been spoken in the dressing room? Translation is no chance. I think that needs to understand because this is a communication thing. And so we lost a little bit, and what you want instant success. So success doesn't come from today. So the long distance, long path in the Turkish Premier League was lost. And obviously, the chances the youngsters came through. They don't grow in stands. They grow on the field. But I think also having this type of situations have made these youngsters grow as well from the other side, because in the end they needed to be better than the rest. That's what I experienced in Germany. And then you can see that Barış and Ferdi and those youngsters and Arda, obviously to mention, Çağlar, who played for Leicester, Çağlar Söyüncü, Melih Demiral. They didn't find him good enough for the Turkish Premier League, and he went to second division in Italy, first Portugal, I think, then to Italy. Then in the end, he ended up in Juventus. So just amazing how football, he was a late developer, let me say that way. So there is no trademark that you put the fingerprint that and say, that's how it goes. Every country has its own way of doing things. But I think the most important thing for me here would be the education of coaches. So obviously, as I said, from the pubertary area, going to this part of development is for me the most important part. So when I came to South Africa, I was very lucky to have somebody like Farouk who understood and the other chairman actually took his time where I was practically sometimes misguided in my behavior as, let me say, demanding, grinding, because there is no, you have to race like a Formula. You're Kaizer Chiefs, you need to race the Formula One game, Formula One race. So there is no maybe. So you have to do that. So you need to grind results. But in the end, there are also elements that you step on players' behaviors, mentalities, and as foreign coaches, sometimes you've been so let me say straight-minded into that you forget there are human beings that has been there. And obviously, European, you can't be transferred one-to-one to Africa or South America. So everybody has his own. And this is also the way in Turkey. And so I think the last years, there are some more coming up now. I think Montella is doing a fantastic job in Turkey, giving those youngsters the chance. And I was one of the guys who really, they wanted to get Montella out. And I went really out of my mind and went over Turkish media and Turkish TV most of the time, tried to explain actually that this long period is important, that the coach continues to the World Cup. So after the World Cup, we can discuss, but to the World Cup qualification and into the World Cup, I know that we're going to qualify. Then he needs to get a blank check. So after that, we can discuss, yes.
Coach, he brought such a lovely style of football. It was so enjoyable to watch. It was Turkey, Georgia, these teams that didn't go far in the Euros, for example, and I say that very respectfully, but the brand of football was so exciting. But coming back to Bafana now, we're talking international teams. Bafana have been doing, I would say, quite well in Africa, in African tournaments. What do you think they need to take that next step and start winning again? and bring back the glory days of 96?
Yeah, actually, Sean Bishop did a great. Sean is at the moment in Saudi Arabia. He did a great analysis, and I had a straight talk to him and asked some questions. And South African league is the 59 league in the world. PSL league is the 59 league in the world from 83 major leagues. So that number needs to be actually put high up. The number 59. So they try to put a perception in everybody's mind. Top 10 league in the world. You can only laugh about that. This is top 10 in the world. So the PSL is not top 10 in the world. But there are fantastic leagues around the world, which is doing great. So actually you find out, and I think the CIAES put it also together, 59 in the world. So this league has to be much more competitive. That's the first. So you don't see any more player getting to top 5 leagues in the world. I don't know, but I think at this point in time we don't have from South Africa one player playing in the top 5 league in the world. This is extremely competitive, and so you're playing probably 70 to 80 games per season, which gives you the competitiveness and the grow to this level. And on those years, we had those type of players like Lucas Rodriguez and Fanny Madidas and whatever. This list is going on. And they were great players. So this is why you could stamp a certain culture out in world football, and people recognized South Africa. But you're nowhere at the moment. People are from international football looking to Senegal, Ivory Coast, Egypt, Morocco did very, very well in the last World Cup. These type of countries are in the limelight. South Africa at the moment not, which they did, for my opinion, unexpected, tremendous good. Which Kroos was the Bruce was very, very much criticized often. And what happened is that the long-term work has made this type of, let me say, degree of success. So the next step is again, like we're saying that Montella, don't touch Montella, please. Like now, don't touch the coach Rose, please. Even people bring this perception, their own ideas in, but he has done it tremendous. So next step is always adding on, and getting better. But we have only such quality there to compete with the best. So that's what makes then the whole thing problem. So we looked then also in the 83 leagues, we looked to analyze how many youngsters are actually playing. South Africa is at the moment from 83 leagues on position 79 in the world as using youngsters. So, I mean, we had now Spain this season in the Euro, having a 16-year-old, he became 17 during the Euro. On the other side, on the other flank, a player that is 19, there was Pedri, 20 get injured, and all these youngsters. So just imagine Spain plays with a 19-year-old and 16, 17-year-old boy on the flanks. It's not they want to use youngsters, it's because they are the best what they have at the moment. And Spain use these kids. So can you win something with youngsters? There is a proof you can, yes, of course. So obviously, what are the cognitive work? That's we need to think. What is the cognitive work? What has been done with these guys? And, why they are so good? And these are the elements that needs to be taught. And this is why I'm saying, what is then that we need to see in South Africa to make that better? That these players are competitive. And when you're 79 in the world from 83 in the World League on using percentage of youngsters in your Premier League, then you have no chance to compete because they can't grow. So that means they're growing on the stands. Look to England. I mean, you have a player like Bellingham playing with 19-year-old by the last World Cup. He was 19. He was one of the best players in the Euro in the World Cup. With I don't know, one game he had over 80 sprints, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So these are elements that is crazy. The stats are crazy for a player like that from this age. So these are the elements that you need to lift, and without lip service, absolutely. Let me say, clear in your mind what you want to achieve. And you have a project. I coached in Austria. So when I came to Austria Bundesliga, the chairman told me, Coach, we're not going to get relegated and we won't win the league. We know that you are a coach that gives youngsters a chance. So we have in Austria a system, under 20-year-old players, development players from your own team, under 20, play certain type of minute in the Bundesliga, the club will get certain type of initiatives, which has been by sponsors. So I don't know the money, what was probably big, huge money. So yeah, Christian Fuchs came out of this, and Christian Fuchs became a household name in Austrian football and went to Leicester, played by Leicester, played later on also.
Won the Premier League.
Yeah, this is Christian. And now as he was done later in America. So there's your talent. That pays already everything out. He went through VfL Bochum, Schalke, and then to Leicester. So I used him when he was already 17. So that was the element that we had. Initiatives that can, it called on those years today for tomorrow. And they had a pool system which sponsors gave a lot of money in that the club's going to get. So obviously, the clubs that want to win the league, they have a different concept. But like Mattersburg, they have a different concept and they want to get onto that money. This is why they bring coaches in, that they look into build players. And that was the reason why they brought me in on those years.
Coach, I've never heard of that concept that was happening in the Austrian League in order to develop the youngsters, create initiatives for the first team. What forward thinking, and also what a way to grow the team and the culture of football in the country.
Yeah, no, look, it is. I mean, we had on those years we played brilliant football. Then I brought Jabu Pule also to Austria. And it was fantastic football, offensive football. We had in a small city like Mattersburg, we had 10,000 spectators. Mattersburg had, I think, 6,000 people living in Mattersburg. So we had 10,000 coming all over watching those games. And that was really marvelous. And I enjoyed that at my time in Mattersburg. And also in Egypt, went to Ismaili, also a club, Ismaili, very, very dedicated for youth on those years. And we brought Ahmed Fatih, became household name of Egyptian football, Hosni Abdurabu, Muhsin Ertuğral, and Said Mohammad. Wonderful players. And they became household names, played in the Egyptian national team, Al Ahly. So these are elements that coaches needs to be brought in for the philosophy of the club and not just getting a coach in that doesn't want to use youngsters. So that has to go hand in hand, I think. So we at the moment in Turkey, we have also built a lot of youngsters are coming through. Because maybe also all these good foreigners are coming. I'm happy to see now again, one of our youngsters went now to Benfica Lissabon and he's marvelous. He scores every game again. And by Galatasaray, even Kerem Aktürkoğlu. And I know we were the first to get him to the Turkish national team, and he was even not playing for Galatasaray at the time. And now to see him flourishing like that makes me very happy. To see that something that what we did right.
Coach, you've been gracious with your time and your wisdom. I want to ask you, and I don't have many more questions, but I want to ask you, let's look at the PSL in South Africa. The PSL is not what the PSL was in the years when you were coaching. It's a totally different beast at the moment. Give us your impressions on who do you think will finish 1, 2, 3, 4.
Very difficult to that. I mean, obviously, when you look to the way how Sundowns is playing, there isn't a continuity in all those years. So there is a huge continuity. And I watched Chiefs against Sundowns. They actually, so long that the new coaching staff or the old coaching staff became now the ones who take decisions, not temper too much with, because there was nothing broken. So not temper too much with the playing way, style, just have a nice flowing continuity. Sundowns will be very successful. But there is something also was Pirates have achieved. A long, how do you call that, a long period of a coach that's been very low by Pirates. It's not often happened that the coach works a long periods. So this is one of the major successes they will probably achieve. This is at the moment, for me, when I looked at how they play, they're very quick on transition. And I think they play for that what they can play. They're not trying to hold on to the goal. They're not trying to play like Sundowns. They have a certain way of play, and they're building their culture at the moment from Pirates. And I think this marvelous 2, 3, 4 touches in the line, straight to the next line, to the box on the opponents, the last third, the entries. I must say that it's been trained by this technical stuff, and the coach have done a great job there. And so Pirates and Sundowns definitely for the title. I think what I saw with Nabi in a short time, I must say that he played the last time. So people were then also biased, and I said I was very impressed with the play, very high line fiver, because normally when you play a 5 line, it always falls back and drops. And when the drop is sitting then in the own box area, and it's always very difficult to come out. So the first balls and second balls will be very, very, let me say, vital to the game plan, or then the players will just have their own balls and will like against the wall and will come back again. But there will be then instant pressure. So I think this high line in a short time, in 2 months, to get a type of, let me say, these quick transition formats, they have this third man running already implemented, you can see. And this high line against Sundowns impressed me. I must say that it is, and I said also to the management, I must say that it's great to see that a man comes in. There is Kaizer Chiefs last year, this year, not much change. Players, there are not big players coming into Chiefs. Here and there come some talented players came in and changed the club. In that way, shows that there is something going on. How much because 9 years, I think, didn't win anything is a big problem for Kaizer Chiefs supporters. And that pressure will be instantly coming when things are not happening right in the beginning. So there will be definitely in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th week, probably certain problems that they need to overcome and add on. So I had that myself as well. So it is important that the media and these people are going to be a little bit more, the fans, a bit more patience in there, because nobody has a stick, and the coach need those games under pressure to, let me say, rectify. And maybe here and there he needs in December another player. Next season, then probably another 2, 3 players. Then probably next season they will challenge for the titles, I think.
Coach, I've only got 2 questions left. My last question is actually a question. You are so knowledgeable. You've got so many badges. I watch so much football, and the one thing that frustrates me the most in watching football is that in the modern game, nobody puts defenders on the goalposts. Why? Why? Please tell me why.
You mean in standard situations?
At corners. There's a corner, they don't put defenders on the
goalposts. It depends. I had Hans Vonk.
Help us, coach.
I had Hans Vonk by Ajax, and obviously when we had this mixed marking, so some zonal, some marking. And so the problem, when the ball comes in, the goalkeeper can save always the first post, need to see the directly, but he can never save when the head ball, the second post. So it's always very difficult for the second post. Hans Vonk, actually on those years, wanted to have always a player at the far post, not in the first post. So it depends on the goalkeeper's ability and the goalkeeper's vision. So I had a very experienced goalkeeper on that time in Hans, and obviously Itu also wanted. Itu wanted sometimes 2, one on the other side, but then you don't have enough players in the middle to zonal and man mark. So obviously these are, and then obviously the first balls becomes, when the goalkeeper creates the ball, the first balls comes very much important if you want to play off a counter attack, because also the teams are on you. It gives you a great chance to re-punch immediately to a counter. So there are a lot of elements that you need to rethink, and it depends also. I like my goalkeepers to set up their own bubble when they feel safe. This is also very much important. This has to do with also goalkeeping communication.
Coach, my final question, which is not actually a question, it is how would you like the supporters of South African football to remember your input into South African football?
Yeah, I think it's been said a lot about youth with me. I think I'm still the most successful coach in the PSL area right now. Must be careful that we say what we're saying. We won 6 trophies. No, it's that don't need to come from me. It has to come from other people. I'm very careful with that. We won 6 trophies. One is the international one. So Kaizer Chiefs has never won the international one. So this, I think, this stays above everything. And then we were the team of the year in Africa, which is for me big honor. This was also you could meet Mr. Mandela in those years. So that is a big achievement, I think. The second, obviously, winning all those trophies left, right, and center. VP top 8 twice. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't know that. I know that from this weekend, Velile, actually from SABC, told me that I was the first one who won the top 8. And I was the first one won it twice with one team. So that was actually now the Pirates coach has won. And then also for one team winning so many trophies. So winning is very much important. You don't win something just by winning is not by luck. Football is very much important that you have luck, but certainly is not just depends on luck. So winning, winning trophies is has nothing to do with luck. It's with preparation, it's with long-term plan. But I would love to remember as the one who really brought a lot of youngsters, which makes me very happy to see them growing in world football, having touched World Cups, having touched being Player of the Year internationally, being Player of the Year, played for Sebongon and Wete, became the Player of the Year, and all these youngsters, players of the year. So me, I'm very happy to be a stepstone to young players to become household names in South African football.
Coach Muhsin Ertuğral, the serial winner who believes culture leads youth to success. Thank you very much for coming onto the On the Whistle podcast and talking to us about your philosophy, your understanding, and also your wisdom about South African football as well as international football. Thank you so much.
I have to thank you.